You'll be glad to know that this is one of my speciality subjects, so I'm very excited to talk about interviews because throughout my career I have interviewed many people, and I've also prepared a lot of people for interviews, and I've also been through a lot of interviews, so I'm very excited to talk about this. Now, there's a lot I could say on interviewing, and it feels a lot of people with dread. I remember many times I've been sat, sweaty palms, feeling myself perspirating, sitting there with a tie on, feeling my veins in my neck pulsing, waiting, looking at every person walking. Is this the person interviewing me? Is this the person interviewing me? And it's nerve-wracking, I get it. But the purpose of this video is to make you relax. Now, the first thing that you need to do when you interview is prepare. Prepare. And I'm going to start at the beginning. The first thing that you need to do is you need to know your CV. Now, by this point, hopefully you will have watched my previous video on the CV. You know, and the links are obviously somewhere up, down, below. I don't know where they are, but they're somewhere. So you need to know your experience, and that's important because especially for the more seasoned individual amongst us who might have a career history spanning many years. I know myself. You know, I'm absolutely awful with dates. I can't remember back the exact dates of my career, and that's important. You need to know your experience and be familiar with it because you're going to be asked about it. Now, there is nothing wrong at all, first of all, with taking a notepad and a CV into the interview with you. This is not a memory test. This is not, an interview is not a test of, you know, how much you can remember. To have something in front of you that maybe fills you with comfort, fills you with a level of ease is not a bad thing. So get familiar with your experience. And then I would start looking at the job advertisement, the specification. Now, in a lot of, obviously job specifications vary in quality and level of detail. In legal, a lot of job specifications are what I would call a roles and responsibilities document. They are a specification. It is, for all intensive purposes, a shopping list. It is what a firm is looking for. It is almost a tick list of all the things and requirements of that role. Now, in some places you will find that it takes more of the shape of an advertisement where it's more based on selling the job and the company rather than having this kind of roles and requirements shopping list form. In some places you will find that it's a mixture of the two. You might have a nice bit about the company, the firm, and then it goes on. But you need to get familiar with that. And the important thing to bear in mind, first of all, is when you're sitting in front of an interviewer, the interviewer is screening you against the requirements of that role. So they will be looking, and in their mind, as you're talking, they will be going tick, tick, green flag, green flag, green flag, right, yes. And then there might be a yellow or a red flag. That's fine. And the thing to bear in mind, and this can put a lot of candidates off, and a lot of people go wrong on this, because they will look at the job specification, and what they will do is they will start to get in their head that they don't fully fit the role. They're not ticking every single box. Now, I want to clear up some misconceptions. A lot of hires are not absolutely perfect. A lot of the time I have found throughout my career that people are hired on personality. So a lot of the time I've received job specs over the years where the job spec says we might want someone on 5 years experience, with this background, having had this exposure. And I remember one distinct example where years ago there was an in-house company, very successful house builder and developer. They wanted a 7-year qualified lawyer with experience in real estate. I came along with an exceptional commercial property solicitor of only 2 years PQE. She ticked some of the boxes, not all. However, this candidate was exceptional in her personality, her drive, her enthusiasm, and so much so that I picked up the phone to the hiring manager and said, listen, I appreciate this candidate is not ticking every box in terms of experience, but what she has got is this drive, this desire, this passion. And she got the job over people with more experience. So you've got to not trip yourself up in an interview by going through a job spec and focusing on what you don't have. Because the moment you get into that mindset that I haven't got this and I haven't got this experience, you're going to trip yourself up. What you need to focus is on what you do have and what you have got and who you are. Focus on the positive, not the negative. The moment we start thinking about what you haven't got, you start sending out that negative energy. And, a lot of interviews, and I'm going to come on to this, is what a candidate might do is go into an interview and start talking about something they haven't got because the interviewer might ask a question, for instance. So do you have experience in this particular case management? And the candidate might respond, no, I haven't, and this is why I haven't got it. And before you know it, they've spent 10 minutes talking about what they haven't got rather than what they have got. What you need to do is, if you do find a point in the job specification of something that you haven't got, yes, note it down, it's relevant, you haven't got that experience. But what have you got? What experience have you got? And what have you got that's going to sell you out? So when you're looking at the specification, what you want to do is be aware of what boxes you are ticking. What things on that, what experience have you got? Now, a lot of people do say there's different acronyms that you can use, such as the STAR method, which is when you answer a question in the interview. So we've been through the job specification. Get familiar with the CV. Get familiar with the job specification. What on the job specification can you do? What experience have you got? Get familiar with that. If you haven't got experience, don't focus on that. Be aware of it, but focus on what you do have. Maybe be aware that, if they ask you a question about that experience that you haven't got, what might you come back with? Maybe you could say, yes, I haven't got experience in that, but what I have got experience in is this system, which actually in itself is quite complicated. Come back with a positive. So we're now going to come on to just a couple of other bits of preparation. Be familiar with who's interviewing you. Do research. You don't want to be sitting there in the interview waiting room trying to guess who's coming up to you. If John is walking towards you, you want to know what John looks like. So as soon as he walks up to you, hi John, nice to meet you. Get familiar with who's interviewing you. If you can, watch a YouTube video of that person talking. Fantastic. You will get to pick up on that person's energy, their mannerisms and whatever. So you will feel a level of familiarity with that person before you even sit with them. Some other good preparation of things you can do. I'm not going to sit here and say, make sure you dress smart, turn up on time. Those things are a prerequisite. But, get familiar with the company achievements, things that are going on. Look at the news page. What is the company doing? This isn't just about getting familiar with the job specification. This is about understanding the company that you're applying for.